other than things that are unseen? You can't answer that question right now. I got to take you someplace else so you can answer that question. I was just setting you up. I want you to think, because we can ready to go someplace else. Go to Luke 24. Now, we through with this. We see what 1 Corinthians 15 tells us about the new body. But we got to see something. Luke 24. Starting at verse 13. Starting at verse 13, he said, "And behold, two of them went that same day to a village called Emmaus, which was from Jerusalem about 80 furlongs. And they walked together, and they talked together of all the things which had happened. And it came to pass that while they communed together and reasoned, Jesus himself drew near." Now, this is after Christ was raised from the dead. Here it is, these two men walking, they were part of that crowd that believed in Christ, but now they're going to Emmaus. And they're talking about what happened. And they're trying to figure it all out, what went on. And they're trying to piece it together and get some type of semblance of really what has happened. Who was he? You know, is this over? Is it final? Did he really raise? What's going on? Okay. Set stage. It said, "It came to pass while they communed together and reasoned, Jesus himself drew near and went with them. But their eyes were holden, that they should not know him." Why did their eyes have to be holden so that they didn't know who he was? Isn't that what he wanted them to know who he was? Well, how would they know who he was? What would be identifying about Jesus that they would know he was Jesus? What would they see? What would they? How would they know it was him? If their eyes were open, how would they know it was him? Huh? Say what? Say it again. Nail print. You got the nail print still? Hold on. Time out. He got nail print? He still got the hole in the side? Really? Okay. So he's walking around. He's walking around. He's got this resurrected body, and he's walking around like a normal person. Yet, his body has not changed. But let's see what he does with it. It blow your mind. See what he does with this thing. And he said unto them, "What manner of communication are these, that ye have one to another, as ye walk, and are saying?" And one of them, whose name was Cleophas, answering him, said unto him, "Art thou only a stranger in Jerusalem, and hast not known the things which are come to pass in these days?" And he said unto them, "What things?" Now, he's talking. Right? Mm-hmm. So he's in a resurrected body, he could talk. trying to hold it. I'm going to get it out. So. Concerning Jesus of Nazareth, which was a prophet, mighty in deed and word before God and all the people, and how the chief priests and rulers delivered him to be condemned to death and have crucified him. But we trusted that it had been he which would have redeemed Israel. And beside all this, today is the third day since these things were done. Yea, and certain women also of our company made us astonished, which were early at the sepulchre. And when they found not his body, they came saying that they had also seen a vision of angels, which said he was alive. And certain of them which were with us went to the sepulchre and found it even so as the women had said. But him they saw not. Then he said unto them, O fools, and slow of heart to believe all that the prophets had spoken. Ought not Christ to have suffered these things and enter into his glory? And beginning at Moses, wow. He began at Moses. And all the prophets, he expounded unto them in all the scriptures the things concerning himself. He could preach. / teach. I don't want people to think that he grabbed the hanky was going, and the Lord said, no, he'd have been doing that to them. They'd have been like, who is this crazy person? He proclaimed, that's what preaching is, to proclaim. And he said, and they drew nigh unto the village, whither they went. And he made as though he would have gone further. But they constrained him, saying, abide with us, for it is towards evening, and the day is far spent. And he went in to tarry with them. And it came to pass, as he sat at meat with them, he could eat. He sat at meat with them, he took bread and blessed it, and brake, and gave it to them. And their eyes were opened, and they knew him. And he vanished out of their sight. What in the world type of body is that? Still got the nail prints in his hand. Still got the hole in his side. He could talk. He could preach. He could eat. And then he could disappear right before your eyes. What kind of body is that? Is that a glorified body? Is that a glorified body, or is that a resurrected body? Huh?
Yeah.
Why?
And the reason I say so is because, and this is my reason, this might be completely different, but my reason is because when we enter in to heaven,
So he has a resurrected body. Body could talk, eat, and then disappear. Vanish right before your eyes. But what did the body look like?
The regular body.
Huh?
The regular body.
Was it flesh?
Had to be.
Could you touch it? Could you handle it? What kind of body is that? I could see the nail prints still. I can still see the hole in the side. I can still see where they beat it with it if I really looked at it. That's why he didn't want them to see. He wanted to see what was in their heart. So he held their eyes that they couldn't see, that they wouldn't notice him for who he was. He didn't cloak himself up, come with a cloak on. No. All off. But he held their eyes so they couldn't see. They knew they were talking to a man, but they couldn't distinguish the fact that who it was. He held their eyes so they couldn't see him until he sat down and he broke bread. And it was after that manner, because only he would do that. Only he would do that. Because he didn't even get to anything else. He just broke bread. And when he blessed it, he gave it to them, and their eyes were open. And then they saw him. And when they saw him, he vanished. Now they sitting there looking at each other going like, didn't our heart burn? Man, he talked to us along the way. We didn't know it was, no, he didn't know it was him. Because he was looking at their heart, that they were so caught up in everything that was going on. We were hoping he was, and we were thinking he was, and the women came back and said something to us, and the sepulcher was empty, but we don't know really. Really? What did he tell you? What did he say to you? He said, I'm getting up. Believe. Believe. If you believe, your eyes will be open. That's why we don't see, because we look with natural eyes. I remember a story in 1 Kings where Elisha, nation of the Amorites, had come and they were going to attack Israel. And Gehazi saw them from afar off along with Elijah. And he said, oh, a great army has encamped. What are we going to do? And Elijah wasn't worried. He was like, more with us than they are with them. He went in Elijah. He said, you and I. He's talking about more. He said, Lord, open his eyes. And when his eyes were open, he saw all these angels in chariots of fire all up and down the mountain. It took his eyes to be open, to see spiritual things. We so look at the carnal first all the time till we don't see the spiritual thing. That's because we don't believe. Because if I base it upon what Christ said, I'm not looking at the natural anymore. I'm looking at the spirit. I'll see him. Yeah, I'll see him. I'll see him for who he is and for what he has said. It'll be based upon his word, not upon what I think. Look a little further. Verse 36. And as they thus spake, Jesus himself stood in the midst of them and said unto them, peace be unto you. Now, they were in this place speaking, and they were talking, and here comes Jesus. Now, he just vanished. Now he comes to these guys, and he appears. What kind of body is this? And it's not a glorified body yet. What kind of body is this that he could just appear and disappear? But yet he looks like Jesus. Yet he looks like the same Jesus that we all knew, that they all were familiar with. And when their eyes are open, they will see him for who he is. But they were terrified and affrighted, and supposed that they had seen a spirit. So they thought they were seeing an apparition. They thought they were seeing a spirit. And because they thought they were seeing a spirit, that's why they were afraid. See, your eyes have to be open. You won't be afraid. He already said, peace be unto you. And he said unto them, why are you troubled? And why do thoughts arise in your heart? Behold my hands and my feet. He still has the same scars on his hand and on his feet. The same one that was on him when they put him in the tomb. But yet, this body can disappear and reappear anywhere, at any time. He said that it is I myself. Handle me and see. For a spirit hath not flesh and bones, as ye see me have. So he's flesh and bone. He's together. You won't do like this and, fantasy. No. He's flesh and bone. You can handle it. But yet, it's different. He had to show himself to his disciples for 40 days. And he had to show himself to them in that body so that they could see him and believe that he rose from the dead. When we are resurrected from the dead, will we have the same body?